So your first step is that you need to get into a group of 4. That may mean that you need to switch tables. If you're 2 or 3 at one table, you may need to break up to get into other groups to make 4. So I have my group of 4 right here. And our first step after we made our group of 4 is we decided on the handout who was going to have what role, and then also what order we're going to go in. Then, if you open up your packet, you'll notice that there are 3 of these sheets that look exactly the same. That's because you're going to be taking notes for each person in your group, and you're also going to be responding to each artwork. That way everybody's getting feedback from 3 different people in your group. You are then also going to, if you are the artist, you are going to be taking notes on the back page of the feedback that you receive. So this is similar to the pear critique, where the paper that you turn into me, so that means this, is going to have both feedback for your partners and also from your partners. So feedback for somebody else's artwork and then also for your artwork. On each of these papers, that way you don't need to flip back and forth, it has the whole outline of how your critique's going to go, along with times, questions, prompts, all of that. The artist page mirrors that outline, so you shouldn't need to switch back and forth if you're the artist. All of your prompts are here, and also your times. So, since we decided that JT is going to go first, I'm going to open to the first page. Pretend this is blank. I didn't want to take up all your time, so I filled it out ahead of time, whereas normally you'd be filling it out as you go. So I made sure that I wrote his name on here so I knew which critique sheet was for which artist. And so I'm going to have this first page open. Again, pretend it's blank. You're not doing this quite yet. And he is going to have his artist page open. I also want you to notice that he has his final artwork, his illustration. He also has his sketchbook, so that way he can show his thumbnail sketches. He can also show his mind map and the revised sketches, all of that. So he has all this information here so that he can show it during the critique because he's going to be referring to it. So if you're looking at the handout on the critiquers sheets, it's going to say First Impressions, which is a See, Think, Wonder. So if any of you haven't done that before, the See is just objectively what you see in the artwork. The Think is things that you think about it, so that's your opinions on the artwork. And the Wonder are like questions that you have about the artwork. A lot of you probably done this in other classes, so I'm not going to explain further. If you're unsure, just check in with somebody who sits near you or check in with me. On the artist side, he has the first prompts. So when you talk about it, the artist is going to be first writing in response to these prompts on their page while the critiquers are writing their See, Think, Wonder. So it's really just like brainstorming, getting your ideas down before you actually go on to have the discussion. That way you're not just like randomly talking. You have time to actually generate and think about things that you're writing before you say them. All right, so we both took our 3 minutes. So timekeeper set a timer for 3 minutes and wrote down their See, Think, Wonder. So all of the people at the table besides the artist are writing their first impressions. And the artist wrote in response to these prompts during this time. Then here it says critiquers share their See, Think, Wonders, and that's about 3 minutes. So you're each going to go around the table. So I'm going to start, and then our 2 other little table mates are going to share their See, Think, Wonders for the artist. During this time, the artist here is going to be writing some things that they see, some things that the critiquers think, and some things that the critiquers wonder. They don't need to write everything down, just take a couple notes of the things that they find most important. Okay, so we said that I'm timekeeper, so I'm going to set a quick 3-minute timer on my phone. I'm going to share my See, Think, Wonder, and then we're going to go around the table to our table mates. So I will show you the artwork so you have an idea of what it looks like before we go on for this. So what do I see? I see a black and white witch riding a skateboard on a red background. It's painted on canvas. And then so the artist is taking notes on this, so he's writing down what my See, Think, Wonder is. My think is, I think the witch looks like it's floating. The witch looks happy, but not too happy. She's like content, I guess. And one thing I wonder is, I wonder why the ground goes from kind of smooth to wobbly. I also wonder if she's going to land or if she's going to fall. So now, after you go around, everybody shares their See, Think, Wonder. Then the artist is going to share what he wants to present about his work. So this is where he's referring to his mind map. He's talking about his thumbnail sketches for his revised sketch and materials used.
So this is my mind map here. I have my name in the middle, and then things that I enjoy surrounding it. So I chose to paint this witch because I like to skate, and I wanted to make a piece to post on Instagram for Halloween. Yeah, so this is my thumbnail sketch here, right there. I chose that one over the other ones because it was the one that worked best for a Halloween post, and it also aligned with some of my interests. So what did I do to revise my sketch from my thumbnail? For one, I thought about color. I also edited a lot of the lines out just to include ones that I thought were necessary. And I also changed the composition to fit for the canvas that I had available. And as far as materials, I just used red, black, and white acrylic paint and about like a 1/2-inch square brush to get a nice like monoline kind of weight around the whole painting.
Great. So after the artist shares, then it goes back to the critiquers. So the critiquers take about 5 minutes or so to write down their positive and critical feedback. So you all should be pretty familiar with this. Positive feedback are things you really like about the artwork. Critical feedback are suggestions for the artist to make it better. So I'm going to set, as timekeeper, I'm going to set my timer for 5 minutes. If you take less than 5 minutes, that's fine. But please try not to take more than 5 minutes. That way we keep it moving. Okay, so pretend that had been 5 minutes. So positive feedback that I have for the artist is that I like that the composition fills the page really well, fills the canvas really well. It takes up the space. Everything feels really balanced. He left no area unattended. The whole thing is painted. I like this smooth background, that everything's pretty flat. And I also really like how he painted the edges. It kind of gives it a nice detail. He made sure that everything was complete, like it feels really done. I also like that it's pretty silly, like it's a feel-good art piece, but it's not like over-the-top crazy. So during this time, the artist is copying down on their artist sheet. Sorry, the backside. The artist is taking notes on the feedback that they're receiving from their peers. So you can decide this as a group if you want to go all around and do just positive feedback and then switch to negative feedback, or each person can read their positive and critical feedback. So then my critical feedback is I thought that the white, so I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but I thought that the white could be more opaque or less see-through because it's really flat and really graphic, but in the white you can actually see all the brush strokes, whereas in the red and black you can't. This also may be hard to see, but he has some pencil marks around the wheels that I don't know if he just forgot to erase them or didn't realize that they were there, so I think he should erase some of these pencil marks that are here. And then also, this is not necessarily a critique, but I kind of had a question about two things. This wheel here has the mark for where it attaches to the skateboard, and then this side doesn't. Wasn't sure if that was intentional. And then also the size of the skateboard, because the skateboard is like pretty gigantic compared to her. So just wondering if that was intentional or if it was supposed to be that large. So then after I go through, then our table mates are going to go through to do their critique of his artwork as well, positive and constructive criticism. And then after the whole thing is done, you'll take a few minutes for the artist to just write kind of a rose and a thorn. So that's a rose, one thing that they really enjoyed about the project, and the thorn is one thing that they wish they could have done better or maybe weren't super into for the project. And then the critiquers are going to just kind of take a note on that as well. So it's pretty straightforward as long as you're following this format on these sheets. It has all of your times outlined. It has everything that you're following outlined. Make sure that you are like honoring people's time and not like kind of giving them jokes like, please take this seriously. It's going to help you improve and hopefully become a better artist. So this also gives the opportunity to get feedback for if you need to make any revisions in order to improve your grade.